Well, I'll tell you what. We have a short list of players that's in our next match. It's 2 of them. Seiko taking on Jarla in our second match of the day. And below you can see the pick and ban phase. That Divine Shield around a class means it was protected. It was ineligible to be banned. And so as the standard, as we've come accustomed to, protect Priest on both sides. And then for Seiko, his Warrior has been banned away, a Control Warrior deck list. And on Jarla's side, his Paladin has been banned away. It's kind of cool to me to see like some of the deviations with just minor tech choices that are in the lineups. But also at the same time, I feel like this season we've been seeing a lot of players show respect to certain classes based on their own personal preferences and experiences as well.
Yeah, I mean, Priest, for example, is just one that everyone has, like, yeah, protected first. Obviously, it has, like, a weird matchup versus Warrior where some people ban it. Or not ban it. I think it's unfavored versus Warrior, but still queued up first anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's Priest.
Yeah, it's Priest.
Yeah, it's good.
But some other people have different ideas. Like Bunny thinks Quest Shaman is the next Priest, for example.
Yeah, like he protects his Shaman and he banned Psycho Shaman yesterday. Yeah. In this one for Jarla, I'm kind of sad to see his Holy Wrath Paladin get banned away because I think he's such a fantastic pilot on that particular deck. But I do know that's something that Psycho has seemed to show a lot of respect for as well. Just recognizing the strong players and where their strong suits are. And then also just Holy Wrath Paladin is looking pretty good against his lineup. He's got Quest Shaman in here, and he's got a Druid deck that features a Chef Nomi and a King Phaeorus at the top end with no Cenarius in there. And so your threat potential in terms of burst is much more limited against Paladin. That's an important tool to have. And then also the Chef Nomi versus Paladin, you are not going to get through your deck before they get through theirs. And so I think that's a big kicker in the matchup. Then a pretty prime talking point is that matchup does not look as good on paper simply because of those two reasons.
I mean, he does have the double Ferocious Howl, which is what we were talking about, but again, you're just running too much top end for it to be a consistent strategy where you just like get the Elise off. A lot of times you might end up in a spot where, like the Chef Nomi is your far left card, for example, and suddenly you can't do that. Copy the Ferocious Howl, double Howl game plan.
Yeah, the Chef Nomi with no Cenarius is a very interesting choice to me. It's one I have not seen so far yet. My instinct would tell me that this is more targeted at Warrior matchups, where you're trying to dupe Phaeorus and Nomi at the end of the game and continue waves of pressure. And also just for the Druid Mirror match, like, you do have 2 Worthy Expedition. You can find Cenarius that way, but yeah, I gotta say, like, Chef Nomi has not been the all-star that I think it was interpreted to be at the start of this expansion.
And I mean, one of the big talking points we had for Holy Wrath Paladin too was that a lot of times Druid would make a sizable board, but not like a ton of pressure. But the reason why Holy Wrath Paladin had to respond to it is because the threat of Cenarius just buffing the entire board.
Yeah,
Psycho can't do that.
Kicking things off with Quest Shaman for Psycho versus the Control Warrior from Jarla. A couple quick points on Jarla's Control Warrior. 2 copies of Weapons Project, 1 Spellbreaker, 1 Dynomatic.
That is interesting.
Dynomatic. I like 1.
I like 2. So I like 1, but then I also like 2 because 2 is more than 1.
I just feel like it's a card that, it threatens my opponent enough that they always think about it because it can be such a massive swing. Mm-hmm. But the way that the decks are right now, man, I just feel like everyone gets a chance to play around it really well.
So one thing I want to bring up is that when you have 1-ofs versus 2-ofs, good players will often recognize that it's just significantly less likely for that to be in your range. Like, when you have 2 Dynamatics, people are going to be playing around it pretty much all the time. They're going to be saying, it's pretty likely that it's a Dynamatic here. I'm going to try to make a play that plays around it. With 1, they're going to say, I should just go for the higher tempo line because it's just unlikely the Dynamatic is there. So when you have that singleton copy, sometimes you can just get people because, the mentality is more often than not it's not there. So when it is there, you just get that great punish.
I will beckon the question of human tendency.
Yeah.
How often do you play around Dynomatic?
When I can.
Which is pretty much if you can all the time.
Yes.
So even if they have 1,
sure,
are you sometimes just inclined to do it because that's been your instinct since Dynomatic has been a card?
I think with 1, there's going to be definitely points where I say, it just can't be there. I have such a high line in this matchup if I play into the Dynomatic that when there's 1 copy, pays off more than it won't.
That would be some great presence of mind to have because I can tell you right now, that wouldn't even be a cross. I'd be thinking about so many other things that playing around Dynomatic would become an autonomous effect.
Sure. I mean, when you can do it as part of the turn, go for it, right?
Sure.
But there's going to be plays where you say, I have to play 5 health worth of minions here.
Just interesting to me.
How do you feel about this match, by the way? I think that Quest Shaman is... Yeah,
everybody knows how I feel about it.
Quest Shaman is quite good.
Super favored Quest Shaman.
Yeah.
Quest Shaman, best Shaman.
Yes. One of the things I like about this matchup is that a lot of times even just a mediocre-ish Shutterwalk just is more than good enough.
Yeah, I'm super greedy of the matchup.
Like when you draw 2 cards, you get 2 lackeys, you summon 2 1/2s, and that's just good enough.
I feel like just the whole deck is good enough. Like Warrior's trying to fight you on an attrition basis, and all of your stuff is like annoyingly threatening. And when that's the case, like Warrior doesn't want to expend their tools on it. It's like your minions are so bad that they don't want to kill them.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that Warrior does have going for it is like in the post-boom phase, a lot of times it can get more tempo on the board. And Shaman doesn't have like the greatest board control tools. A lot of times they need to like save their Sandstorm Elementals for that if it does happen.
Yeah.
But it's just unlikely to get to that point where you could play Dr. Boom safely and also have like the value resources held back to fight for board.
Yeah. I feel like I can pretty safely get to Dr. Boom. I feel like being safe for long thereafter is not necessarily the case.
That's what I mean. It's a lot of times you can get to the safe Dr. Boom, but you have to expend a lot of resources to get there.
Oh, yeah. I'll be curious to see how Jarla does it, because he is one of the most particular when it comes to this sort of stuff. Seiko's hand not looking fantastic right now.
Doesn't need to look that great right now, right? This Sandstorm Elemental will pretty much stop all of Jarla's pressure, and if we take a look at Jarla's hand, it is nothing. It's air.
He held on to a weapons project to make sure that he had checks on Evil Totem. Evil Totem can get out of hand.
At the same time, though, that's very much a defensive game plan.
Smart.
It is smart, but right now he is trying to go for an aggressive game plan. I guarantee you that a Sandstorm Elemental is not what he wants to see right now.
Well, neither would I. I have a 3-1.
And a 1/1.
I'm not even thinking about the 1/1. I'm looking at the 3-1.
Well, they're pretty important here.
I mean, you tack on extra tax to it. Ooh, not happy.
Seiko also has the option of going Coin, Former Champ, Mutate.
I like the Sandstorm Elemental.
Slow and steady wins the race.
It's rare.
That's actually so untrue in Hearthstone. Fast and quick wins the race by a mile every single time.
Wow, what did you think about this one?
I did not.
I mean, you were talking about how
Tempo
much
equals
Bogey
good.
Mutate was good. Not the best pickup, and Jarla has an easy check to that with Shield Slam. Pretty happy to expend that, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, every single, pretty
Restless,
much every single minion that he could have played for the 8-drop slot.
Restless Mummy did the job.
Yeah.
Pulled 2 cards now from Seiko, and almost 0 value is going to be had as a result of it.
Suddenly, the Sandstorm Elemental is pretty stranded. He does have the ability to play Former Champ next turn. I think that's kind of what he was setting up for, where he could do this into a Former Champ.
I mean, Seiko's a max tempo gamer.
That Shield Slam, though, I think
It was good.
really stopped the pressure.
Yeah. And so now for Seiko, there may be a deviation. Like the Former Champ is just being farmed by that Eternium Rover. Chances for Magnetize as well.
So you really wonder if the Coin Mogu Flesh Shaper line and max tempo was the greatest strategy. Because yes, if he doesn't have Shield Slam, then a random 8-drop is probably going to be better than a 2/2 in play, obviously.
Yeah.
But he could just have used the Sandstorm Elemental to accomplish pretty much the same thing.
Well, you said something that I really liked, which was slow and steady wins the race. I think that's kind of my moniker for this matchup. To see Seiko kind of go the opposite way, and you also immediately say, that's not true. In Hearthstone, it's fast and furious is what gets it done. That's context. And I think in this spot that going for the Mogu, while it's very powerful, I do think it's short-sighted.
Seiko's deck is not really one that tries to get under in the matchup normally. I think that
You don't need to.
Yeah, Quest Shaman is one where you just want to keep up a modicum of pressure. You don't want to expend all of your resources as quickly as possible, because Warrior is actually pretty good at dealing with that. They are designed to beat Priest, which is pretty much the game plan of Priest.
Yeah.
You know, play all of your stuff as quickly as possible, vomit it onto the board, try to draw some cards, hopefully if it sticks.
Use as many cards as you can.
Literally vomit on the board. That's what Priest does. But Shaman doesn't need to do that. So when you're playing against a deck like Control Warrior, maybe taking the Priest line of playing stuff incredibly quickly, using all of your resources to accomplish something that, less resources could have done at a slower pace.
It's risky.
It's risky for sure.
Now, that being said, Seiko, I have questioned a number of these attempts that he has made. And a number of those times, at the end of it, he has looked quite brilliant with how powerful it's been. And so I think that if he's going to get through this one, his big thought was, you know what, I'm getting former champ online, I'm getting Giggling Inventor online, and I have Shutterwalk in hand. If I can force Jarla to use a bunch of resources and then tempo out of Shutterwalk, is it just too much? And I think that seeing the middle of this game, you know, it's changing a lot of that opinion that I initially had. Where I was like, oh, it might be enough. But, I mean, Jarla's taken the board.
To be fair, Seiko still has a lot of the value generators in his deck, and the way that he's played, he can curve pretty nicely into a Shutterwalk. He can go Giggling Inventor on turn 7. He has kind of a big question mark on turn 8. But while we're talking about that, Jarla picks up what I consider the most important card in this matchup.
It is a premier card. When you need to be able to fight back, like pretty much withstand anything that's getting thrown at you, that card's critical. Like, compare it to doubling your battle cries. Like, doubling your battle cries is super sick, and you end up with a lot of stuff at the end of the game. With Dr. Boom, you don't have to play a bunch of battle cry minions, but you got to get to 9 mana safely.
And I think Jarla's going to do that, and he hasn't really expended his resources. This is what we were talking about before, where, you know, a lot of times you have to play your 2 Mordants just to contest, or your Ziliax and all of your threats. You know, maybe have to play an Omega Assembly for just 1 minion. Jarla didn't have to do that this game. He had a really good answer to what Seiko's game plan was. Seiko developed a lot. He committed a lot towards that Mogu Flesh Shaper Mutate. Jarla answered it with 1 card, which is arguably not a premium card in this matchup. I think Shield Slam, for the most part, hits only Mogu Flesh Shaper Mutate, so it landed on what it wanted to land on.
It's former champ stuff, but yeah, it's a utility card.
As we're talking about that, it very easily could hit a former champ stuff right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't Shield Slam, but
I also wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's a bit of a subjective call. I am a bit surprised by his trading here, though, where he's left himself vulnerable to Wasp and to a second Mogu.
At the same time, a lot of times they don't want to be playing lackeys right now from the Quest Shaman perspective. Quest isn't online. If it's an ethereal lackey...
Sure, but if they want to play them, I don't want to let them. I want to give them worse targets.
And then at the same time, there's also lackeys that they don't want to play, like Goblin Lackey on this turn. If you could go Goblin Lackey, Weaponized Wasp, that just sounds icky. It seems like a lot of resources to try to fight for board when that's probably not quite the best option Quest Shaman has right now. Or fight for board in ways that are less committal.
I guess he could have been thinking about this turn specifically. Going into 7 mana, facing a Giggling Inventor, you have 2 health on your Snip Snap. Means it doesn't die.
Jarla could just Warpath offensively here. I'm not really sure if I love it, but a play like Warpath, Towncrier, pick up either Ziliax or...
It just feels like a lot to use.
It seems like a lot to use.
Like, to me, I think, you know, Seiko's taken this offensive position. I think Jarla's at the slow and steady wins the race camp.
At the same time, Jarla can curve into a Dr. Boom while having stuff in play into Omega Assemblies in hand. You could Warpath Towncrier, play your minion, you've seen a Sandstorm Elemental, and they're not going to the Shutterwalk turn. It's a lot of resources. Warpath is a pretty crucial tool in the matchup.
Don't waste it.
I don't think it's a waste, though.
I think it's a waste here. I think you're standing on 3 damage and you're at 45. I kind of like not even playing Towncrier.
He wants to play around MC Tech?
I'm curious if he's got... it probably would be MC Tech, I guess.
Seiko has that would make interesting plays here.
Yeah, I mean, like, the disaster scenario would be like your Eternia River got stolen.
Yeah. They could trade the 1-2 into the 2-1, MC Tech the 3-2. That's kind of a disaster. That's also a reason not to go for the high tempo line with the Warpath, is that you end up giving them 2 targets for the MC Tech if they want to take it.
So Seiko's going to go for Activate Hero Power Barista here?
Yep.
Ooh, I really want to hold it now. I want that Kobold Lackey.
I mean, another option is you could just... I do like what Seiko does here, but you could just like play all of your lackeys and then do a single barista. Go for max tempo.
Yeah, I think having this many Giggling Inventors is quite powerful.
No, I agree with that.
Like, you think about the matchup, and you know, one of my instincts initially was, oh, I bet former champ's pretty good against Warrior. That has not been the case for me. And kind of your instinct would be, well, Giggling Inventor can't be that good against Warrior. And that's also been the opposite for me. Like, Giggling Inventor has like pretty paramountly felt like one of the most troubling, insignificant threats to them, but a threat nonetheless.
It's just so annoying.
Yeah.
It's just so annoying. And at the same time, look at what Seiko picked up. He picked up Sludge Slurper and Giggling Inventor. If he gets a single Witchy Lackey or 2 Witchy Lackeys off that, suddenly he's looking at like 7 boards in a row.
Yeah.
If not more. I think Seiko pretty much has gas for the rest of the game at this point. Like,
and that's like a talking point for Seiko, and the way that he's played this is, you know, a couple of draws really changed the scope of it. And at the same time, he was trying to force critical resources from Jarla.
I think this game plan shifts dramatically if he didn't pick up Barista on exactly that turn. I think Barista was
the lynch-in of that turn?
The lynch-in of that turn. Of this entire game. Without that Barista, this game doesn't go off the rails just yet. But his hand is not Giggling Sludge Slurper with a quest activated.
Wow, I am really surprised that this was not a fight for Dr. Boom here.
Well, he has to worry about Shutterwalk, right? If Shutterwalk picks up another Barista Lynch-in, the game is pretty much all but over.
So that's a critical threat for you to kill him in the matchup. I didn't even really realize that. Like, that's something that didn't actively occur to me.
Yeah. At the same time, though, he only has 8 mana, so the
You knew what all but one of the cards was, though, too.
Yeah.
You know that they're Lackeys and Gigglings and Sludge Slurpers. So there's a random card, and then there's the pickup for the turn.
He also only has 8 mana, so the Shutterwalk actually wouldn't come out that turn. That being said, if the Barista doesn't die, he can also Bog Slosher the Barista.
Yeah, you're thinking like a Brew or a Bog.
There's a lot of things that answer it. Now, Seiko does have a Youthful Brewmaster in his deck, and a single copy of Bog Slosher.
Yeah. So I think that was, you know, pretty.
I don't know, man. How bad was that Warpath tempo line?
I don't. I'm not going to revisit that. That's a completely different game now.
Well, I revisited it.
Well, you feel free to do that.
It happened.
I like that he still got the Warpath. I think he's super comfortable.
He wants to play the Dr. Boom, right?
It's got so much health.
And 3 attack. That's way more than 3 attack.
That thing just does not die for a long time. And with 3 Goblin Lackeys in hand, you have an opportunity to bolster that well beyond.
Seiko is just the Dr. Boom now. Everything has Rush. Weaving in the mana makes sense from Jarla's perspective. Dynamatic is actually pretty good, but you need to play the Dr. Boom.
That was a sick Omega assembly. Like, they changed the Discover effect to where the cards are not weighted 400% for class pickups anymore.
It didn't have a huge effect on neutrals. They get slightly more common, but the class cards get way, way, way less common.
He just straight up got 3 Warrior mechs.
Okay,
That's a good Omega assembly.
That's a good Omega assembly. What are the worst Warrior mechs?
Oh, I love that.
Can't really think of one.
It's all context, right?
Yeah, it's all context.
I mean,
Eternium Rover, even Eternium Rover is still sweet a lot of the time. Yeah,
Vicious Scrap Hound is like super contextual. Like, it's either
that can be really good.
It's either hyper good or it's like, why is this in my hand?
Vicious Scrap Hound Ziliax is what Eternium Rover Ziliax wants to be.
Ooh, you haven't lived until you sweeping strikes one of those. Ooh.
The one problem with Seiko's hand is that his board is not that threatening. It still is a lot, but yeah, he just develops a little bit more onto the board. I think this is going to force out a reaction from Jarla at some point. Maybe not specifically next turn.
Yeah, I don't really know how Jarla handles this right now. Like, well, that's one way to kind of do it.
One thing to keep in mind is that the Annoyatron is a mech, so it cannot be hit by Dynamatic, which means that something like double Dynamatic is very likely to clear or almost clear the board.
Well, there's 20 non-mech health in play right now.
Yeah, but it's split pretty nicely for a Dynamatic to consistently do it twice. Like if you use 2 Dynamax here, more often than not, I imagine the 2/5 will die.
If this was a weaker hero power for Jarla this turn, like I think this is just an easy Boom Reaver spot. I think with the 7 armor, you have to respect how powerful that is in the matchup.
This would be
Even a
good
single
time
Dynamatic
for a
hero power
master
seems
plan.
very decent. The fact that the 1/2 is not a mech, or is a mech, lends itself to that.
I think that going fishing with Omega Assembly right away is tough. You need to calculate the mana breakpoints.
You think.
Goblin Bomb.
Mortuary Machine, not so good. 5-mana 8/8, give your opponent's minions reborn after they play them.
So not after a summon, but after they play it.
That's right.
Yeah. If it was after summon, that would be pretty ridiculous, because whenever you reborn a minion, it would just get revived again.
Not the cleanest, but it's something.
That's like what you expect, right?
Yeah, you gotta make headway.
Yeah, you got 3 of the 1 health minions. Goblin Bomb doesn't really do anything here. The 3/10 can just attack over it and continue going face, so it's just a 1 mana deal too. But you're fitting it in against specifically armor.
Yep, time to start beefing that bad boy up.
I'd be surprised if he took health off of his Batterhead here. He probably wants to keep that as healthy as possible.
Yeah, my instinct here was to at least kill the Goblin Bomb, as it's like a carrier for magnetic effects.
It's free to do.
I mean, 2 damage is meaningless here. For
No. With Batterhead, you can just attack
Yeah.
over it and get another
I just meant the 2 damage to
your
own
own
face.
face.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
I
meaningless
agree with
right
that.
now.
I agree with that. I thought you meant just sinking 2 damage, like you could trade the 2/1 in as well, but that's just strictly.
That's the benefit of Batterhead.
Yeah.
Keep going. Let's bolster him even more.
It's a better Batterhead.
7-14. Doesn't kill the Goblin Bomb?
I don't think this really matters, but it does make Brawl slightly better.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of free.
You also got to teach that Goblin Bomb a lesson.
Is he reading Batterhead now? I just saw the Batterhead get highlighted.
Okay, then.
Mortuary Machine is
That's
terrible.
upsetting, man. One thing to consider, though, is that Magnetize on the Goblin Bomb doesn't really matter because everything has Rush anyways.
I was just thinking the extra health.
Yeah, that's...
Just 2 health carrier.
Yeah.
So it's free. Just
it does
give it
matter.
to you.
It does matter.
This would be a
But it
good
doesn't-
time for a master
It does matter, but it
plan.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Semantics.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is the fact that it makes Brawl actually give
Yeah.
a good outcome.
I apologize. I forgot you weren't subtle. We debate semantics for the sake of it.
I am not subtle. You're right.
Oh, I love that fuse thing. Okay.
Get in there, Mortuary Machine. You got some work to do.
I think he wants to Warpath. No? Just going the Batterhead.
Yeah. So the Reborn effect, because A, Psycho's board is so full, and B, you have the Warpath in hand, most of what Psycho plays is a small minion. So you're not super worried about the Reborn effect, I don't think.
That does make sense. Jarla's done a pretty good job of forcing Psycho out of a lot of his tools, but that left-hand Shutter Walk. Titanic Lackey is only friendly minions.
I'm almost 100% certain.
I'm 100% certain.
Ooh. Do not take Rain of Toads. I have done this. You overload your mana. You never get your hand empty ever again.
Yeah, Rain of Toads is not actually that strong of a card. 6 mana, summon 3/2/4s with Taunt against a warrior. It's just
Depends on the situation. Just the
yes,
nature of the match.
Of course. Like against a zoo where they need to Leroy you in the face. Rain of
Like,
Toads.
Battlecry Shaman has effectively overloaded itself for 2 the rest of the game in order to double all its battle cries. Like, don't compound that.
Psycho's been overloaded for like 7 mana every single turn up to this point. It's
Big
fine.
Toads.
You got 8 damage in play right now.
Psycho's just got a different view of the game, and honestly, it's something that's so cool to watch because you start to see the effectiveness of his game plan, where he's like, well, why would I kill stuff? These are 1/1s that hit attack face. And just over and over, if it's not a significant threat on the other side, he goes face, and he goes face, and he goes face. You look down at the end of the game and you go, what happened to all my life? How does he have so many cards left? And the reason is because you're having to kill his stuff because he's the aggressor in the matchup. It's tough to take that role when you're the defensive deck.
At the same time, I want to say Jarla's been doing a really good job of forcing out resources awkwardly from Seiko. 8 damage is a lot. Not going to deny that, but it's still giving Jarla a lot of time in the matchup. You know, he keeps clearing like 1 minion max.
I think that time favors Seiko.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that Jarla also needs time to get to the point where he can actually clear the board and then have a swing turn.
It's a pretty major corner turn.
Yes.
When you get to the point where, oh, I have outlasted them.
It's just,
Love that fuse thing.
I feel for Jarla here because Seiko does have pretty much reload for the rest of the game. He's done a fantastic job of getting rid of as much of the resources as possible, but you're just not going to beat that Shutterwalk. I
don't know, man. I think this game is, for me, too close to call right now. I think it's advantage Seiko. I think Jarla has some opportunity.
This might be the turn where Seiko really needs. He can trade off everything, go Hero Power, Giggling Inventor, and mutate it, get an 8-drop. He can clear the 4/7. He sets up pretty nicely for the Tomb Warden swing that Jarla is trying to set up. Plays around Warpath, Tomb Warden.
I just feel like I'm so unhappy to trade off everything.
I wouldn't be.
I am. I'm very upset with it.
I just disagree with that because you can always reload. I don't think the issue that Seiko has right now is playing small stuff to fill the board.
I guess to clarify, my issue isn't necessarily reload. My issue is being able to continue to deliver damage. I think delivering the damage is extremely important.
I agree with that.
I think that preserving your resources is also extremely important. So
I
you
agree
have
with
to
that.
find that right balance.
At the same time, what Jarla's been trying to do is set up the swing turn where he plays like a big Tomb Warden, plays a Warpath, clears as much as possible, and from Seiko's perspective, he probably knows that. He just saw an Armageddon. It's okay to blow resources to contest what your opponent is trying to do, how they win the game. Like, Seiko killed off a lot of his minions here.
He's building his own Tomb Warden.
Yeah. With Divine Shield.
Flank the ends. Take that, Super Collider. First brawl of the game picked up for Jarla. And so now the timing of when that brawl comes in is super important. And you can see how annoying these minions are that are on the end. These rooks that are holding the fort for Seiko. This is a troublesome spot for Jarla. And this is honestly like where I looked at it from Seiko's perspective.
Then.
I don't think you want to trade off stuff and then go for big minions. I think that the paper cuts are really what gets it done.
I would agree with you if not for the fact that Seiko just has overwhelming resource advantage.
Keep it. When I'm ahead, I get more ahead.
The only problem with that is that you're giving Jarla a turn to
Okay,
actually
then.
have a swing turn.
I'm okay with that.
I think you'd be more okay with that using your resources a little bit more proactively.
No, I wouldn't be. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I love that
Good talk.
fuse thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay then.
Okay then.
Okay then.
Yeah.
I mean, Jarla's perplexed, and I don't blame him. I don't know what's good here. That's
Oh,
good.
that is good.
That's good. You like to see that. I hate using burn damage on minions.
So don't.
I'm going to.
Seiko does have the option to just go Hero Power, Giggling Inventor, mutate the Giggling Inventor. Not saying it's the play here, but it's been an option for quite a while, and he's ignored doing it.
Honestly, this is probably one of the best turns to do it. And the reason why is because Jarla has big stuff out.
Yeah, if they want to answer it, they might have to Warpath their own minions.
Yeah, like if you're going to AoE to try to clear off a Giggling Inventor effectively, you're doing it in the
I
face of
don't
your
know, man,
opponent having
'cause
big
it-
stuff in play.
Then when you start thinking about it, right, from Jarla's perspective, that might actually be playing into what he wants. You know,
The shield sims are
a
down.
really good turn for Jarla is Security Rover, Warpath, Warpath. Right?
Sure. I think that's a read that Seiko is not making.
I disagree with that. I think Seiko
He's
will
just
have
thinking
that
about
in
swing
mind.
turns in general, right?
I think killing off the minions here makes a lot of sense.
I'm killing the minions off.
You wouldn't have done it with the Giggling Veteran. That's all I'm saying. You would have killed off one.
I would have killed Elysiana, Giggling, and the Mutate. I think the use of Titanic Lackeys from Seiko has been so good in this game.
Jarla has been forcing out the resources magnificently, I would say. He still has his Warpath from a bajillion turns ago. He's gotten through all but one Giggling Veneer in the Shutterwalk.
This is a weird turn. I think the Ziliax is an important tool. It's an extra Ziliax. His normal one has been expended. But 10-10s are just big.
There really aren't that many bad hero powers, though. Also, I want to point out something from Jarla's side that we haven't seen yet, is the fact that he's been playing towards the Kaboom hero power.
Oh my gosh, he hasn't gotten a Kaboom hero power a single time.
We haven't seen it, and it's just like, it's almost like...
This is like a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to get it usually.
But we're waiting for... Apologies for that, we're waiting for a reconnect.
Yeah, so please be patient with us. We do have a reconnect timer at least, so that players have a chance to get ready. You know, it's unfortunate to see it. We're going to hope that isn't the case. You know, we're going to take our time and try to get this set back up. That game was delivering. That was so much of what I want from the long-winded games is the constant attrition battle that takes place.
Okay, I might be totally wrong with my reference here, but do you know like the bike race where it's just two very fast bikers and they try to go slowly as possible and like they try to stay behind each other for almost the entire way? And then at the very last second, the person, like, because of drag, if you stay in front of the person, the air resistance is like lower behind you, which means you use less energy. So they actually go like incredibly slowly up until like the last portion where they go all out. That's how that matchup kind of felt, where, you know, they're both trying to like not do anything the entire time.
Yeah, you preserve your energy until the final moment.
Like, Seiko has the modicum of pressure, keeps it up. You know, that's just like the light pedaling that he's doing.
Slow and steady
with the
wins the
Shutterwalk
race.
sprint at the very end.
Exactly. But that's what confuses me so much about his early game, is that he just rocketed off.
In the Quest Shaman versus Control Warrior bike race, someone didn't tell him that, you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and then his coach comes by and says, whoa, slow down.
That's checkpoint 3.
That's the former champ.
Hey.
The former champ said, hey, buddy, you're the hot shot here, okay? You're a 5-5. That's big. We don't want you to be a 5-0 at the end of the day.
He's that guy from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out where in the pink jumpsuit where he's chasing his trainer on the bike at the end. The former champ.
Yeah, the former champ.
Oh, this is beautiful.
It's pretty good.
That's a lovely analogy,
It's a good
Alan.
analogy.
Thank you for that.
No worries.
I wanted that imagery in my head. Let's take a look at the standings and see where we're at right now as we await the player reconnect from this point. You can see what an important match it is for Seiko, as you know, Fino dropped his match, and so this is an opportunity for Seiko to, I'd say, get ahead in that bike race. Where there is no draft behind it for Seiko.
In this one, you do not want to be behind the other person.
Correct. And Fino, you know, not picking up that match, if Seiko's able to win this one, that is a big point for Seiko at that. You know, Fino qualified for the global finals in Season 1, and he's fighting for relegation here in Season 2. If Seiko's able to win out from this point, that's pretty much it.
We're at the point now where every single win has a lasting impact on both this season and your entire Hearthstone career.
Paramount concerns.
These are some of the most important games that Seiko and Fino will play in their entire life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Whew. It's hit me again.
Man.
It's hit me again.
It's tough, man. Some of these people are just playing for, you know, just the salary you get for winning, maybe a playoff spot, but these guys are fighting for their lives, man.
Everybody has implications right now, which is, to me, you know, that's part of what makes the playoff line and the relegation line so interesting, is whether you're at the very top or in the middle or at the bottom, you have something at stake. You have something that's major at stake as well. You know, this is the last season you can qualify for the global finals. Mm-hmm. So being in the top half, that's pretty much your primary goal if you're looking for, you know, titles and trophies. And once you're at the bottom, like, you want another shot at it. Well, you can't be the last slot, and that's the case. And if you're in the number 1 spot, there's minor advantage going into playoff for being in that seed.
Yeah, I mean, even the people that aren't really facing, like, getting into that playoff spot and aren't really facing relegation still have that, like, what if that 1% happens where this happens and suddenly I'm in the relegation spot? And it's very unlikely, but they're still stressing out about it. We heard Board Control say, phew, at 6-5 now, I'm no longer facing relegation when he's like 3 wins ahead of everyone else.
Boston the same way. Boston said yesterday after his first match that he was like, it was pretty stressed until I won this one because there was still the disaster scenario.
Yeah, I mean, if you do the math, it's just so unlikely, but at the same time,
still possible.
That's something you got to think about.
Every now and again, 3 juggles go face. We got to go to a quick break while Jarla's getting reconnected right now. So we're going to go to that break. When we come back, hopefully he'll be back and we can get back underway with our match of Seiko versus Jarla. Thank you for your patience and stay tuned. Welcome back to Hearthstone Grandmasters. Right now we are in our second match of the day of Seiko versus Jarla. I'm Nathan, that's Admiral Zamora, joined by Edward Gallon Goodwin, America's Grandmaster player, who will be playing later today in Americas. Unfortunately, right now we have a disconnect scenario with Jarla, and so because he's been gone for greater than 5 minutes, he's received his first game loss as a result of it. If he's not able to reconnect by the 10-minute mark, that is a match loss, and that's the rules here. So it's unfortunate, but you have a time schedule to keep, and you got to follow the rules.
Yeah, just a few more minutes until that happens. That was an exciting game. I felt like we had not reached the point yet where it was like that crazy moment, but it was definitely like leading and building towards that. So I'm a little bit sad about it that we did not get to see.
Yeah, it was really cool how that game was going. But we're awaiting that right now. It is a countdown timer for Jarla, so if he's not able to reconnect, that will unfortunately be a match loss for him. So now, Galen, let's talk about your experience coming up here in Americas. You have to cast and play today.
Yep.
The last player to do that was Hunter Ace, and he went 2-0. You got some big shoes to fill there, buddy.
I'm excited for it. I don't know. I feel relaxed. I feel like it's gonna go well.
I can tell you're relaxed because you have so few words to say about it.
I mean, just show up.
That's a good sign.
Just show up and win.
Just win.
That's the advice that I give everyone in Hearthstone.
Excellent advice.
If you're losing your game, instead try winning.
I haven't thought about that.
You ever see diving, like the springboard diving, where they do flips and twists and stuff?
I know of it.
It's like in the Olympics. So
Yeah.
I used to do that when I was in high school, and I always figured you should just tell the people to flip faster.
Excellent advice.
Like, just do 5 flips instead of 4. Just
Yeah, why not?
faster. It's really good advice.
That's totally how physics
I'd be
work.
a great Olympian coach.
Just flip
win.
more.
Yeah, just flip more.
That's not what's. There's physical capacity to it.
Nah, just flip hard. Just flip faster.
It's always unfortunate to see a disconnect, but thankfully it has been quite rare in Grandmasters that's been the case. It's the nature of a digital online competition that's taking place here. We're still awaiting a word for it, and I just got word. Jarla has been disconnected for beyond the timer and is now being issued a match loss. So, unfortunate to see. You hate to see it. It's a big pie chart, and the legend code is to see it. The pie chart is titled Hate. The entire pie is full of that legend.